What if I told you there's a Mercedes that's been crawling through Moroccan deserts for 40 straight years, carrying passengers while laughing at death itself? This mechanical immortal has racked up over 1.8 million miles. That's like driving to Mars and back. And the engine? Never been cracked open, not even once. But here's the kicker. This isn't some one-off miracle. It's just Tuesday for German engineers who apparently confused car manufacturing with building time machines. Today I'm unveiling 13 Mercedes models built by engineers who declared war on mechanical failure itself. And make sure you watch till the end, because we've added a bonus car that will absolutely shock you and leave you stunned. Number 12. Mercedes-Benz C-Class W202 1993 to 2000. When Mercedes decided to build a budget sedan, their engineers apparently missed the memo about cutting corners. Instead, they created what can only be described as an S-Class that went on a diet but kept all its survival instincts. The W202 wasn't just Mercedes' entry into compact luxury, it was their declaration of war against the very concept of good enough. While other manufacturers were building cars designed to last exactly until the warranty expired, Mercedes engineers were having nightmares about disappointed customers. The M104 2.8-liter inline-six wasn't trying to impress anyone at a drag strip. With 193 horsepower, it was content to purr along like a mechanical cat that had achieved inner peace. But here's the beautiful part. This engine was so understressed that highway speeds felt like asking a bodybuilder to open a pickle jar. The real genius was in the obsessive overbuilding. The chassis was rigid enough to be used as architectural support, and the suspension components were so massively over-engineered that Mercedes engineers probably felt embarrassed by how easy their job was. There's a W202C280 in Poland that's been faithfully serving taxi duty since 1998. Through brutal Eastern European winters, scorching summers, and the kind of stop-and-go city traffic that would break lesser machines, this little warrior has accumulated over 620,000 miles. The owner jokes that his retirement fund is less reliable than his Mercedes. The W202 proved that Mercedes' commitment to immortality wasn't reserved for their flagship models. Even their entry-level car was built like they expected civilization to collapse and needed something that would still be running in the ruins. Number 11. Mercedes-Benz S-Class R129, 1989 to 2001. For 12 glorious years, Mercedes perfected what happens when you combine German engineering obsession with unlimited budgets and a complete disregard for profit margins. The R129 SL wasn't just a convertible, it was a technological showcase that happened to be virtually indestructible. The M119 5.0-liter V8 didn't just make 322 horsepower, it made them while barely breaking a sweat. Mercedes engineers apparently designed this engine for a planet where the speed of light was higher and physics worked differently. The result was a motor that treated Autobahn speeds like a gentle Sunday stroll. But the party trick that made other manufacturers weep with envy? The automatic roll bar system. In 0.3 seconds flat, hydraulic rams would deploy a roll bar that could stop a collapsing building. This system was tested more times than most people have hot dinners, and it never failed, not once. I know a guy in California who bought a 1995 SL500 with 180,000 miles 15 years ago, thinking he was buying someone else's problems. Today, that same car has over 380,000 miles and runs like it was assembled by Swiss clockmakers with OCD. The soft top still works perfectly, which is basically automotive sorcery after 3 decades. The R129 proved that you could build a sophisticated convertible that would outlast several civilizations. While other manufacturers were building drop-tops that broke if you looked at them wrong, Mercedes was creating convertibles that laughed at the concept of mechanical failure. Number 10. Mercedes-Benz G-Class W460, 1979 to 2001. When Mercedes decided to sell their military vehicle to regular people, they basically handed over the keys to a nuclear-powered brick with license plates. The original G-Wagon wasn't designed for grocery runs. It was engineered for conditions where the nearest mechanic was 500 miles away and probably being shot at. The M102 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine made all of 125 horsepower which sounds pathetic, until you realize this engine was designed to run on whatever liquid happened to be available. Gasoline, diesel, military-grade fuel, probably brake fluid in a pinch. This motor didn't care. It was the automotive equivalent of a honey badger. The G-Class didn't need complicated electronics or 17 different driving modes. 3 differential locks, solid axles, and the structural integrity of a fallout shelter were all it needed. When apocalypse preppers dream, they dream of G-Wagons. There's a 1985 G-Class in the Australian outback that's been hunting for minerals longer than most marriages last. 30-plus years of crossing deserts, fording rivers, and basically being tortured by geography itself. And this mechanical masochist has accumulated over 450,000 miles. The mining company owner swears it's gotten more reliable with age, like a fine wine made of steel and stubbornness. The early G-Class proved that sometimes the hammer is the perfect tool. While other manufacturers were adding complexity, Mercedes built something that would work anywhere, anytime, forever. Number 9. Mercedes-Benz E-Class W124, 1984 to 1997. The W124 E-Class was the automotive equivalent of the last samurai, the final expression of an era when Mercedes engineers would rather commit seppuku than build something that might break. When the bean counters finally took over in the late 90s, they probably looked at the W124's construction costs and needed medical attention. The M103 3.0-liter inline-six wasn't trying to win any power contests with its 177 horsepower. It was too busy being immortal. These engines didn't just last 400,000 miles. They seemed to get smoother and more refined with each passing decade, like mechanical wine aging in steel barrels. The build quality was so obsessive it bordered on mental illness. Panel gaps were measured with instruments designed for spacecraft assembly. The paint was applied in so many coats that it looked like liquid mirror, and doors closed with that distinctive Mercedes thunk that made other cars sound like tin cans full of marbles. Mercedes tested the W124 by doing things that would make modern lawyers faint. They ran prototypes at maximum speed on the Autobahn for thousands of miles non-stop, because German taxi drivers needed cars that could cruise at 120 miles per hour all day without breaking into a mechanical sweat. There's a W124 in Germany that's been serving taxi duty since 1987. Nearly 4 decades of the most punishing automotive service imaginable, constant stop-and-go traffic, thousands of different drivers, minimal maintenance budgets, and this mechanical warrior has accumulated over 900,000 miles. The owner jokes that he's planning to will it to his grandchildren because he's pretty sure it's immortal. Number 8. Mercedes-Benz S-Class W116, 1972 to 1980. The W116 wasn't just the first car to wear the S-Class badge. It was Mercedes' announcement to the world that German engineering had achieved something approaching automotive perfection. This wasn't just a luxury sedan. It was a mechanical manifesto written in steel and leather. The OM617 3.0-liter turbo diesel made a modest 120 horsepower, but it was built like Mercedes expected it to outlive several ice ages. This engine didn't just run, it conquered time itself, regularly accumulating mileage numbers that made calculators weep. What set the W116 apart was Mercedes' complete disregard for economic sanity. They used the best materials available, regardless of cost. Steel was thicker than necessary. Chrome was applied in layers that could survive nuclear blasts, and even the smallest screws were engineered to last longer than most people's mortgages. The W116 became the chariot of choice for world leaders, not because it was flashy, but because when your life depends on your car starting every single time, you don't mess around with lesser machines. I've personally witnessed W116 diesel models with over 800,000 miles, still purring like mechanical cats. The interiors might tell stories of decades past, but the engines keep singing their diesel lullabies with the consistency of sunrise. The W116 didn't just establish luxury car standards, it proved that luxury and immortality weren't mutually exclusive concepts. Number 7. Mercedes-Benz S-Class R107, 1971 to 1989. When Mercedes achieved perfection with the R107 SL, they faced a beautiful problem. Why change something that couldn't be improved? For 18 glorious years, they kept building the same basic car, making only minor updates because when you've created automotive immortality, why mess with success? The M110 2.8-liter inline-six didn't need to prove anything to anyone. With 177 horsepower, it provided enough performance to satisfy while being so bulletproof that finding a broken one became newsworthy. These engines accumulated miles like a proud collector, accumulating rare stamps. The R107's construction was typical Mercedes overkill taken to beautiful extremes. The chassis was so rigid, it could probably support a small building, and the body panels were thick enough that meteorites would bounce off. The soft-top mechanism was overbuilt to the point where it could probably operate flawlessly through several zombie apocalypses. But the real genius was in the timeless design. While other manufacturers were chasing fashion trends that aged like milk in the sun, Mercedes created something that looked as stunning in 1989 as it did in 1971. That combination of timeless beauty and bulletproof reliability created a classic that appreciates in value faster than some stock portfolios. There's an R107 380 SL in Florida that's been living the retirement dream for 35 years with the same owner. Over 320,000 miles of Florida heat, humidity, and salt air, conditions that turn most convertibles into expensive lawn ornaments, and this mechanical snowbird still runs like German clockwork. Number 6. Mercedes-Benz W123 Estate, 1977 to 1985. The W123 Estate took everything brilliant about the sedan and made it bulletproof enough to haul the weight of small civilizations. This wasn't just a station wagon. It was a cargo-carrying machine built to the same obsessive standards that made Mercedes famous for automotive immortality. Armed with the legendary OM617 diesel engine, the Estate didn't just haul loads, it hauled them while laughing at the concept of mechanical stress. This 3.0-liter turbo diesel was so reliable that finding a broken one required actual archaeological expeditions. Mercedes didn't just modify a sedan and call it a wagon. They redesigned the rear suspension, strengthened the chassis, and tested every component to destruction. They wanted to ensure that European tradespeople could load these beasts to maximum capacity every day for decades without causing so much as a mechanical hiccup. The Estate became the Swiss Army knife of the automotive world. Family hauler, commercial vehicle, ambulance duty, it excelled at everything while refusing to acknowledge that machines were supposed to wear out eventually. There's a W123 Estate in Norway that's been serving construction duty since 1982. Through Scandinavian winters that would freeze other vehicles into sculptural art, this mechanical Viking has hauled tools, materials, and the dreams of Nordic construction workers for over 40 years. The odometer shows over 750,000 miles, and it's still running on its original drivetrain like some kind of automotive folklore come to life. Number 5. Mercedes-Benz W108 W109, 1965 to 1972. When Mercedes set out to build the W108 and W109 series, they apparently decided that subtlety was for manufacturers without souls. These weren't just luxury sedans. They were rolling displays of German engineering prowess that happened to be virtually indestructible works of automotive art. The M106.3-liter V8 didn't just make 250 horsepower, it made them while barely acknowledging that it was working. This engine was so massively overbuilt that it seemed almost bored at legal speeds, like asking a concert pianist to play chopsticks. The construction quality reached levels that would make modern accountants require immediate medical attention. Steel was thick enough to deflect criticism. Paint was applied in so many coats, it looked like liquid perfection. And interior materials were selected, assuming the car would be driven daily for half a century. Mercedes tested these automotive monuments by subjecting them to torture that would make military vehicles surrender. High-speed Autobahn runs for thousands of miles, because wealthy German customers expected their cars to cruise at 120 miles per hour for hours without mechanical complaint. There's a W109 300 SEL 6.3 in Switzerland that's been owned by the same family for 5 decades. Through alpine passes, Autobahn marathons, and the kind of high-speed touring that these cars were born for, it's accumulated over 400,000 miles while aging like fine wine made of steel and luxury. The W108, W109 proved that when money was no object and quality was everything, Mercedes could build cars that transcended mere transportation to become mechanical heirlooms. If this journey through German over-engineering is melting your mind, smash that subscribe button. We're about to reveal the Mercedes models that made immortality look easy. Number 4, Mercedes-Benz 190 EW201, 1983 to 1993. The 190E 2.5-16 wasn't just Mercedes's response to the BMW M3. It was their declaration that even their smallest sedan could be built to withstand the apocalypse while delivering motorsport thrills. This car was developed with Cosworth input and tested in racing conditions that would make normal cars beg for mercy. The M102 2.5-liter four-cylinder, with its Cosworth-developed 16-valve head, didn't just make 195 horsepower. It made them while being built to standards that racing teams could only dream about. These engines regularly exceeded 200,000 miles of enthusiastic driving, treating track days like gentle exercise. Mercedes used lessons learned from DTM racing to create a street car that could handle track duty without breaking into a mechanical sweat. The suspension was fully adjustable, the limited slip differential was standard, and every component was built to racing specifications that would make other manufacturers weep with envy. The chassis was so incredibly rigid for such a compact car that Mercedes had to use additional bracing and thicker steel. The result was a small sedan that felt more solid than vehicles twice its size, like a jeweler's precision applied to automotive engineering. The legendary Nardo test tells the whole story. Mercedes ran several 190Es at maximum speed for over 50,000 kilometers non-stop, pausing only for fuel and driver changes. After this mechanical torture that would kill lesser cars, these German gladiators were still running perfectly. There's a 190E 2.5-16 in Germany that's been track-driven regularly for 3 decades. Over 250,000 miles of enthusiastic driving, countless track days, and autocross events that would send other cars to automotive graveyards. This mechanical athlete is still running strong, still tight, and shows no signs of acknowledging that it should be tired. Number 3, Mercedes-Benz W126 S-Class, 1979 to 1991. When Mercedes engineers were handed unlimited budgets and told to build the world's ultimate sedan, they created the W126, a car so ridiculously overbuilt that it probably made accountants consider career changes in other industries. The M103 3.0-liter inline-six wasn't the most powerful engine in the range, but it was absolutely bulletproof in ways that made military equipment look fragile. With 188 horsepower and mechanical precision that improved with age, these engines regularly exceeded 500,000 miles, with some crossing the mythical million-mile mark. The W126's construction was Mercedes' excess, taken to levels that bordered on mechanical insanity. Bodies were galvanized to prevent rust, until the heat death of the universe. Doors were so heavy they needed pneumatic assistance, and every component was tested to survive conditions that would challenge geological formations. The attention to detail was obsessive beyond reason. 17 different sensors maintained perfect cabin temperature. Seats were designed for 1,000-mile journeys, and even the ashtrays were built with the kind of precision normally reserved for Swiss timepieces. The W126 became the automatic choice for world leaders, celebrities, and anyone who needed a car that would work flawlessly until civilization ended. Its reputation for reliability was so legendary that many buyers kept them for decades, treating them like mechanical family heirlooms. There's a W126 560 SEL in Morocco that's been serving VIP taxi duty for over 3 decades. Through North African heat, dust storms, and conditions that would melt normal luxury cars into expensive paperweights, this mechanical sultan has accumulated well over 800,000 miles while still providing luxury car refinement. Number 2, Mercedes-Benz 300DW 123, 1976 to 1985. The 300D W123 with the OM617 diesel engine isn't just one of the most reliable cars ever built. It's proof that when German engineers decide to build something immortal, they don't mess around with half measures. The OM617 3.0-liter turbo diesel made only 120 horsepower, but it was built to outlast several ice ages. This engine was so massively understressed that highway speeds felt like asking a bodybuilder to lift a coffee cup. The mechanical fuel injection had no electronics to fail, and the cast iron construction could withstand abuse that would make modern engines surrender immediately. But the immortality wasn't just about the engine. It was Mercedes' entire philosophy of building cars assuming they'd need to work in hell's front yard for decades. Every component was overbuilt, every system had redundancy, and every detail was engineered with the expectation of century-long service. The 300D became the global standard for automotive reliability. From Arctic Sweden to scorching Morocco, these mechanical immortals served taxi duty while accumulating mileage numbers that made calculators explode. Regular customers crossed 500,000 miles, many exceeded 1 million miles, all on original engines. The secret was Mercedes' obsessive testing regime that bordered on automotive sadism. They ran these cars 24/7 for months, testing every component until it screamed for mercy. When something failed, they redesigned it stronger. The result was a car that actually got more reliable with age. There's a 1983 300D in Greece that's been island hopping for 40 years. Over 1.2 million miles of Mediterranean service, ferry rides, salt air, and tourist chaos, and this mechanical Odysseus has never needed major engine work. The owner jokes that archaeologists will probably find it still running in 1,000 years. Number 1. Mercedes-Benz 300S DW126, 1981 to 1991. At the summit of automotive immortality sits the W126 300SD, the unholy marriage of S-Class luxury and diesel reliability that created something approaching mechanical perfection. This wasn't just the most reliable Mercedes ever built, it was quite possibly the most reliable luxury car any manufacturer has ever dared to create. The OM617 3.0-liter turbo diesel found its perfect home in the S-Class body. Already legendary for reliability, this engine became even more understressed in the heavier luxury platform. With 120 horsepower moving a substantial car, the engine barely acknowledged it was working, resulting in reliability that approached the theoretical limits of mechanical possibility. The 300SD represented the perfect storm of everything Mercedes did right. Bulletproof mechanical simplicity wrapped in luxury car refinement. You got S-Class comfort, silence, and features, but with the reliability of industrial equipment that was designed to run until the sun burned out. These automotive immortals became legendary in taxi fleets worldwide, regularly accumulating over 600,000 miles in commercial service before beginning second careers as private luxury cars. The combination of prestige and reliability was unmatched by any manufacturer before or since. Mercedes built the 300SD during their peak over-engineering period, when quality control was obsessive and profit margins were suggestions rather than requirements. Every component was massively overbuilt, every system had redundancy, and the result was a car that seemed to exist outside the normal laws of mechanical mortality. But the most famous 300SD is the one that's been crawling through Moroccan deserts since 1985. This mechanical legend has been in continuous taxi service for nearly 40 years, accumulating over 1.8 million miles in conditions that would kill normal cars within months. The engine has never been opened, the transmission is original, and it still provides luxury car comfort after 4 decades of commercial abuse. When asked about his car's incredible longevity, the owner simply shrugs and says, "It's a Mercedes." That simple statement captures the entire philosophy behind these mechanical immortals. They were built by people who considered reliability not as a goal, but as a basic human right. Bonus: Mercedes-Benz 240D W123, 1976 to 1985. The 240D was Mercedes' proof that sometimes less really is more. With the naturally aspirated OM616 2.4-liter diesel making all of 65 horsepower, this car was slower than geological processes. 0 to 60 took about 18 seconds, roughly the same time it took to make a cup of coffee. But what the 240D lacked in speed, it made up for in absolute uncompromising immortality. The OM616 engine was even simpler than its turbocharged brother, with no turbocharger to fail and even less stress on internal components. This engine was virtually indestructible, regularly exceeding 800,000 miles, with million-mile examples becoming almost common. The 240D became the ultimate working-class hero in countries where cars had to earn their keep or families went hungry. It would start every morning regardless of weather, run all day regardless of conditions, and ask for nothing but diesel fuel and the occasional kind word. The crown jewel is a 1979 240D in Morocco that holds the unofficial world record for automotive endurance. After 45 years of continuous taxi service, this mechanical gladiator has accumulated over 2.1 million miles on its original engine and transmission. The body has been rebuilt several times, but the mechanical heart keeps beating with the consistency of atomic clocks. The 240D proved that in the kingdom of automotive immortality, the slowest car can sometimes live the longest. By stripping away everything unnecessary and building what remained to impossible standards, Mercedes created something that was virtually unkillable. These 13 Mercedes models proved that German over-engineering wasn't marketing hype, it was a way of life. When manufacturers prioritized quality over quarterly profits, they created mechanical legends that laugh at modern reliability standards while teaching us that true luxury isn't about features. It's about never having to worry about getting home. Which one left you speechless? Drop your thoughts below, smash that subscribe button, and remember, they really don't make them like they used to. But maybe, just maybe, they should. Until next time, keep those odometers spinning and those engines purring.